What was your "the universe is fucking with me" moment? The evening of my first day without a cigarette in 15 years, I came across a full pack of smokes lying on a window ledge. Laughter ensued. I never had found even one discarded cigarette before. Nor since. Back when I was a kid, I borrowed a CD of my dad's without asking, and it ended up becoming lost. We looked everywhere, but it was never found. It was a very unique CD and couldn't be replaced. Dad scolded me, but worse, as only a dad can do, he would tease me about it. Example, we'd be riding in the car and he'd sarcastically say, "Boy, it'd sure be nice to listen to that CD. I wonder where it could be." He never forgot, and he made sure that I never forgot either. Fast forward 10 years, my dad died unexpectedly while at work. It was absolutely devastating. He was everything to me and my family, and we were broken. Thankfully, the universe, or someone/something, made sure to let us know everything was going to be okay. After we arrived home from the funeral, my mom, siblings, and I were sitting around in silent shock. It was Christmas time, so my brother thought he'd try lightening the mood by playing some Christmas music. He went into the CD cabinet, and there, sitting right in front, was the missing CD. We'd gone into the CD cabinet many times a week for years and years. There was no way we could have missed it. That CD had been missing for 10 years. It was like someone placed it there for us to find. We burst into tears and cried until we couldn't. It was beyond belief. When my dog ran out into the street and a car almost hit it, but the car stopped, looked at me, back at my dog, then slammed on the gas pedal, running my dog over in the process. August 2019. First weekend in August, I get mugged and punched on a night out. Lose my phone, wallet, keys. The same weekend my dad and second mum split up after 15 years. The weekend after, my mum goes on holiday. The first night she's away and I'm watching the dogs. The eldest passes away in the midnight vet as I'm holding her. About 3 days before she comes home, I get rushed into hospital with supposed sepsis and have surgery. Luckily I was in and out within a week. The last weekend of August my car breaks down and costs me £300 plus in repairs. And #X200B. August can fuck off. I am not leaving the house next August. Dad's got Sjorgen's syndrome and ME. I've got M.E and POTS. Mum just got diagnosed with vascular dementia. Can't keep getting worse, right? Dog got diagnosed with diabetes last year. Now he has an inoperable liver tumor. It's beginning to take the piss a little. I feel like that guy from the story about being pressed to death and just saying more weight. Obligatory, not me, but my mother-in-law. She claims she is cursed and ends up in the hospital every April 1st, without fail. It started when she was a child, and every year something different gets her: a dog mauling her, a car accident, the balcony security rail giving out and making her fall down 3 stories, numerous wounds from other people's April Fool pranks going wrong, etc. She even has a bunch of scars, and she can tell you which April 1st caused which scar, complete with a full story. One April 1st, we were staying at her place and she made a pillow bunker in her bedroom and literally waited out the entire day in there. She promised to herself that this would be the first April 1st in decades without a hospital visit. Midnight arrived and she triumphantly left her pillow fort, unharmed and victorious. To celebrate, she decided to cook hamburgers for the whole family. The pan, full of burning hot oil, somehow slipped from her hands in such a way that all the oil spilled on her arm. An ambulance had to be called and she needed skin grafts. My personal theory is that the universe got mad. She tried to fight back and turned the April 1st curse up to 11. Every time I learn something the night before or the morning of it somehow appears throughout my day. I don't know how or why some things would even appear in daily conversation. Just yesterday, we had a meeting about restructuring pay, wages and titles. I was the logistics team lead for 6 YRS before starting up our facilities department 2 YRS ago. The meeting is going along, then they mention moving up in the company, which piqued my interest. I swapped departments because they didn't want a logistics manager at this site. They then explained that after 2 YRS in a position they will be either moving people into manager positions or expert positions for people who don't have manager skills or are a department of one like mine. Those positions will be expected to take on one project a year. I'm sitting there dumbfounded. I've been doing multiple projects every year while running the full logistics department. I've completely built our facilities department from the ground up. I've done back-to-back 500K this projects this year alone. After the meeting I met with HR and the GM to ask what does this mean for me? How am I going to get bumped up? I was told time doesn't start until this year, so I'm 2 YRS from a manager's position and the 20K that comes with it. I just had my resume professionally done and am sending it out. Fuck this company. In 2013 I paid off my student loans earlier than expected, so treated myself with an overseas trip to see red pandas in the wild 2 years later. Shortly before I leave, end of 2015, I get a new boss at my awesome job. When I get back from my dream vacation, the new boss decided that she did my job for 2 weeks and I do nothing all day and put me on an unofficial PIP for 30 days, taking away all of the things that made my job worth doing and giving me reports and paperwork she was supposed to be doing. I aced the PIP, then dealt with her passive aggressiveness as she piled up more and more work over the following 5 weeks, tore me down in private, insulted me in front of my co-workers. I was on the verge of a mental breakdown when HR sat me down with her and informed me that the department was being restructured and I was being made redundant. 2 months later I have a job I hate that pays a barely livable wage, but took because it was in my field, located in my old hometown, which I also hate. I have to move an hour away from all of my friends and the city I loved. Lost my social support. My family in said hometown hates me, so no support there. Later I get into 2 car accidents, one because my car tires are bald, because I couldn't afford to fix them, and I hydroplaned, and the second due to a rough week of being on prednisone, due to an infection from poison ivy, and not realizing that that shit can actually cause psychosis. I end up putting myself in the psych ward because I knew I was having crazy suicidal thoughts. I miss a week of work, and feel like the most broken human on the planet. 2 months after that, I find out my fiancé, who I had been together with for 10 years, had another girlfriend the entire time we were together, who he had told me he had broken up with. He was still living with her. I lived with this man for 6 years on and off, We had been engaged for a year, and he gaslit the fuck out of me to keep up his double life. The best part was I was the side piece, not even the real girlfriend who got to meet his family and spend holidays and vacations with them. Fuck 2016. Everyone else was upset over the US presidential election. I had so much awful shit going on that I barely noticed or cared. At that point I just took it as a given that the universe was telling me I was unlovable, was just wasting space and should just die, and spent the last month of 2016 and the first 3 months of 2017 trying to drink myself to death, or get the courage to end things more quickly. Oddly enough, the thing that saved me was someone else's misfortune. My neighbor OD'd on heroin, and I ended up trying to do CPR/resuscitate a dead man before the paramedics arrived. His death rattle ended up in my mouth. I spent that entire weekend re-evaluating my life, and took the first positive steps away from my own self-destructive behavior. Now I'm engaged to a man who is a million times better than my ex. We have 2 dogs. I have a terrific job with a lot of responsibility that pays much better with opportunity for advancement in my industry in a few years, and I have a solid friend group again. My relationship with my family is not great, and I'm still stuck in my old hometown, but I've learned to love it again. Oh, and that boss was fired for being an incompetent sack of shit. Smiley face, edit, OMG, gold. Thank you, kind stranger. Right after moving I was in a car accident on the freeway during rush hour. Back end of my car was crunched. While it was sitting in the parking lot of a collision center waiting to be repaired, a semi backed into the front end. The collision center was right next to a trucking company. When my husband called to tell me what had happened, I thought he was joking. While getting dumped, I was shat on by a pigeon. Cut off contact with a horrible ex around May of this year, and last week I finally decided to clear all of her shit out of my car. Some clothes and random junk. Got it all bagged up and tossed out. The very next day I turned a corner at the store and there she was. I haven't seen or spoken to her in 6 months, and the day after I try to remove items that remind me of her I almost run right into her. It was my 21st birthday. I was enjoying a nice birthday breakfast when my neighbor buzzed the intercom and told me someone had run over my cat. She survived, but now she's blind and she was in a lot of pain for quite a while. Around a year or so later, more or less in the same period, it was like 1 or 2 months after my birthday, she was poisoned with rat poison. She survived, but she was in a lot of, well, pain, as last time, for a few weeks. In that moment I knew the universe hated my cat and me. I was in the apartment's laundry room alone. There's a shelf where people leave stuff for others to take. One day there was a clown statue there. I found it weird and creepy enough to take a picture. I go to a machine at the far end of the room and put laundry in the machine. No more than 10 seconds later I pop back up to walk out. The clown statue is no longer there. No one had followed me in, and I didn't see anyone in front of me when I walked out. Outside, the next day I saw this. No sign since. Clowns, y'all. Can't be trusted. So the wife was in Newfoundland and I was in Ottawa. We were moving and she went on ahead while I stayed behind to finish my job and pack up the house. Bored one night I went to a bar and started chatting with a couple of college girls I met. One thing leads to another and they invite me back to their place for a threesome. So here I am thinking, there's no way the wife could find out. I'm leaving town in a few days, so there's no way this could ever blow back on me. And these girls were hot. And I turned them down. Even if my wife would never know, I would. I had too much respect for our marriage to do something like that. 3 years later we were divorced because she was sleeping with 5 other men. Was with an ex a few years back that I was starting to wonder if I should break up with. Nothing crazy, we were just at different places in our lives and I wasn't sure if I should keep trying to make it work. She'd given me a watch as a gift and I came home from work one day and took it off before I was gonna start cooking dinner. I put it on the counter at least 2 inches from the edge. I turned around to get something out of the fridge and almost immediately heard something fall and hit the ground. It was the watch that had somehow fallen off the counter. It was busted up pretty good and I just didn't care. My first instinct was to just chuck it in the trash. That's when I realized that yep, I needed to break up with her. I have had major food poisoning and had to call out on my first day of work to a spiffy new high-paying job. Twice. It all began when I was born. This will seriously fuck your mind up. I was sitting beside my friend on the couch who was downloading Tinder and to help him set up his account. As soon as it downloads, some apps like Tinder send you an SMS verification code. Our country has 6 digits in the phone number, Tinder sends you a 6 digits verification code. Can you see where this is going? Yeah, me neither. I didn't see it coming, but I shit you not, here I was, sitting on the couch, dumbfounded by my phone number appearing on his screen as the verification code. My phone number, not 1 digit less, not 1 digit more. I calculated the chances and it turns out to be a 0.0001% chance of it happening. To this day my friend and I call it the devil's story. I've had 3 instances in my life where I've gotten decent raises at work, gotten home to share the news with my wife to find out she's accepted a new position at a new job for less money or decided to change careers that will require her to quit work altogether. Like within days of making a little extra money we take a large financial hit. But she's the love of my life and she's doing what she wants now. So it's all good. My friend's ex-girlfriend brought me a t-shirt and the tag label was the name of his current girlfriend. The building I work in has 2 one-person bathrooms. In between them, the wall is set back few feet from the rest of the hallway. In that gap is a water fountain. A couple of months ago, I went to the drinking fountain to fill up my water bottle. Except there was no water fountain. The wall between the bathroom doors was completely filled in. I walked away from it, looked around the hallway, and then walked back to the area where the drinking fountain was supposed to be, but it was still gone. Thinking I was crazy, I ended up going back to my office and asking my co-workers if we'd ever had a drinking fountain there to begin with. Of course, they said that there was. I went back to the fountain a 3rd time, and it was there, the same as always. This hasn't happened since. I'm still not sure what the hell was going on that day. I was working for this place that had a job posting system. They posted a job I thought I'd give a try. I didn't like the job, and went back to what I was originally doing. Cut to a while later, and I get fired from the job. Career Builder, which I don't have an account for, sends me an email full of job openings for the specific type of work I was doing that I didn't like. I never at any point have listed this job in a resume, or as experience on an application. So, yeah, information gets around. It was bright and sunny out. I got the trash. I took one single step outside and it started raining immediately, and hard, too. You can't save this file because it's currently open. I know it's open, I made a change and am trying to save said change. Sad face, there was an achievement for a game that was to get 10 million points by a certain point. I finished with only 9,999,990 points. Literally within 1/1,000,000th of variance. It was Sonic Spinball on the Genesis Collection, PS3, BTW. It was my birthday weekend. I helped someone jumpstart their car in the morning. Later on, LA has the most rain it's had in 6 years, the storm drain near my house get backed up. My house gets flooded, and was the only one on the block to be affected. Not as bad as others, but it was last December. I was head over heels in love with this girl, and just had spent $2,500 on a vacation for both of us, and her parents. The vacation wasn't what I expected, cold weather, hotel was shitty, etc. About 2 weeks after we got back, I started working a lot of OT, as a carpenter in Minnesota, in December. It sucked, but I had just spent most of my money on said vacation. My girlfriend decides to go out for her friend's birthday. She gets wasted, and ends up in a threesome, while I'm outside freezing to death, building someone's multi-million-dollar home. TLDR spent most of my money on GF, worked OT outside in December. GF gets plowed by 2 dudes while I was working. I don't know how I forgot about this, but here goes. The day I was gonna ask out my crush, I find out she moved away to another country. That same day I was playing soccer and someone kicked the hell out of my shin and fractured it. Dinner comes and me and my family go out to eat at a McDonald's because why not? I get food poisoning and that's the end of that shit day. The day my life collapsed 2 years ago was late October. I managed to rebuild, get stronger and figure it out. Almost to the day, I lost my job this year. The universe is definitely fucking with me. Ugh. Just on Saturday I was at work annoyingly late pushing on a project that had fallen behind with a looming deadline. It was like 11 p.m., I'd been there for over 12 hours, I was totally exhausted and stressed out, and I had one step left to complete before I was gonna leave for the night. I get the piece of equipment ready for the step, run the test cycles and cleaning to get it all set up and it's working great. I take it to the project, pull the trigger to start and, nothing. The thing totally crapped out somehow between setup and use. Literally screamed and then just left. Fuck it. Immediately after Tom Petty died, I sent my brother a text that this was a heartbreaker. My brother died of a heart issue 3 days later. We couldn't have services for my brother for another week. We played his favorite song while carrying his remains out of the church a week later. 3 days after, the singer of his favorite song died. Also on the same morning my cat died. My business failed and I lost everything. Edit. I had opened my business 1 week before my brother's death. It was supposed to be an exciting time in my life.